Good evening, everybody. My name is Lisa Marshall. I am the Director of Organizing and Advocacy with New Yorkers for Clean Power, and I'm one of the lead organizers on the Renewable Heat Now campaign. Thank you to all of you who have been on many of our Zoom meetings, our power hours before. Welcome to anyone who is new to this group and who just joined it for us for the first time. We have a great agenda tonight. We're welcoming you, telling you a little bit about our campaign, breaking down what just happened in Albany, because if you're not confused, then you're in the wrong meeting. It was very confusing. We're going to talk about the 100-foot rule bill that just passed the legislature. We're going to very importantly share our appreciations. We're going to go more into the story of our campaign and talk about what we've been building and winning over the past 4 years of legislative work. We're going to take action now for the next steps and just take a peek into our future work together. That is just going to be a little bit of a snapshot. You will not get a fulsome idea of all our future work together because we just don't have that ready to share with you. So without further ado, I'll go to the next slide. Thanks. So Renewable Heat Now is a campaign, not an organization. We're made up of 25 different groups and plenty of allies that are not official members of Renewable Heat Now. And we are all working together to decarbonize New York's buildings because New York's buildings are the biggest source of greenhouse gas emissions. That's because most buildings in New York burn fossil fuels for heating and also for heating water and for cooking. And we know, because in New York, we know all about gas and fracking and fracked gas, that gas is not a cleaner or safer fuel. It is an accelerant to climate change. It is leaking all along from the well where it is being taken out of the earth in Pennsylvania, all along the pipelines, compressor stations, and every distribution pipe along the way until it gets to your home, where your water heater, stove, and furnace or boiler may also be leaking methane, especially that stove. And methane gas, we know in the short term, is one of the more potent greenhouse gases in the atmosphere, and it is accelerating our warming atmosphere that is accelerating the climate crisis. So we are lucky that there are better and cleaner options for home heating and water heating and cooking. And we've been promoting all of those in various ways, both in terms of policy, outreach, and education all around New York for, I believe, the past 8 years. And tonight we're going to hear a little bit more about some of the legislative work we've done, but we've done lots and lots of work that is outside of the legislative realm that we won't talk about tonight, but our work is not limited to just legislation. Oh, I forgot Citizens Climate Lobby in my list. Just remembered more organizations. All right, if you're here from Citizens Climate Lobby, I hope you weren't offended. We know you're part of our movement too. Okay, let's see where we are. Let's go to the next slide. Okay, in just a minute, we're going to hear from Liz Moran of Earth Justice. Most of you who've been on our calls are familiar with Liz because she is our woman on the ground in Albany who has all of the inside scoop and can tell us what is actually happening. She's the one who, when we're out there making calls or rallying, she's the one who's letting us know, hey, this is having an impact. The legislators are talking about what you're doing. Keep it up. It's working. And without Liz there and a few others, but we'll highlighting Liz for now, we wouldn't know how effective our strategies were, our tactics, what we need to change, what we're doing right, what's working. And Liz, are you ready?
I am ready. Hi, everybody.
Okay. All right, I vamped long enough. I'm going to turn it over to Liz because I know you're all here because you want to know what the heck happened in the last week or two. We were advocating all together for 3 years for something called the New York Heat Act. And we passed something that was not quite that. And in between is a lot of question marks. So I'm turning it over to you now, Liz. Take it away.
Great. So hi everyone. That was such a nice introduction from Lisa. So I'm Liz Moran. I'm the New York policy advocate with Earth Justice. I have got to give a shout out to uh, a couple folks who were in the trenches in the Capitol almost every session day, and that's Michael Hernandez with Rewiring America and Jessica Aslay, of course. We were a phenomenal trio that navigated some sticky stuff together. And I have to give them a shout out for being partners in crime through all of this. But let's go through what we actually got here and what happened. So we won. Folks should be celebrating. On June 6th, the New York State Assembly joined the Senate in passing Assembly Bill 8888. What a great number. A bill that amends the 100-foot rule subsidy. So the New York Senate had already passed this bill the week prior. For those who are not following legislative world as closely, we had an interesting legislative session where the Senate had their last day of session last Thursday, and the Assembly extended their legislative session until yesterday. So that, oh, I realized the date is wrong in here. The bill passed on Monday. And anyway, yeah, it's typo. It should be June 16th. So this is phenomenal. This contains one of the pillars of the legislation, the NY Heat Act. And I just have to emphasize before I get into everything else and how we landed where we landed, that we are in an incredibly challenging political moment. I think I'm preaching to the choir when I say that when we look at what's going on federally, we are in very scary times. And that is being felt everywhere, whether it's a blue state, a purple state, a red state. Um, it's being felt, and that includes here in New York. And our opposition is feeling incredibly empowered. They are spending more money and resources to fight our efforts than I think I've seen in the course of my career. So we were up against significant headwinds this session, and despite all of that, we came out with a victory. That's amazing. And that's a testament to everybody here and the tremendous work that has happened over the past 3 years. So with that, let's get into, how we landed where we landed. Next slide. Okay. So there were 3 doors that we could have gone through during this legislative session. So the first being the NY Heat Act. I think folks who have been working on this bill with us for a long time know already that there have been amendments and some changes to the NY Heat Act over the years. But this is how we started the state legislative session. We were pushing really hard for the full NY Heat Act. We introduced a new version of the bill at the start of the 2025 legislative session. And that bill was designed to take into account some of the feedback we got last year from the Assembly. And we were ready to make a push through the state budget process. So the first quarter of the year was really devoted towards us pushing for NY Heat to be in the final budget. And we had a rough start. The governor, who had previously embraced pieces of the NY Heat Act in her prior 2 budgets, this year had very little on climate or environment broadly and did not have anything related to NY Heat in her executive budget proposal. Now, in New York State's budget process, the governor really does ultimately set the tone. It's pretty hard to get something in a final budget if the governor hasn't put it in herself. So we were already off to a tough start to the year. However, we had great allies in the Senate. The Senate included the NY Heat Act in their one house, so it kept NY Heat part of the conversation. We did everything we could, but ultimately The assembly stood really firm by a position they often hold, which is no policy in the budget. So we didn't get NY heat in the budget. Um, so I think we should transition to the next slide. So ultimately, we realized we were never going to get NY heat as it was currently written. And what we really wanted to do was to get more feedback from the assembly. We really wanted to bring the assembly to the table to see what they could pass. And at this point, we were already looking at, in ideal world, some sort of two-way negotiation between the Senate and Assembly for something that would be able to pass both houses. So ultimately, as we were getting closer towards the end of legislative session, there was a lot of work that our phenomenal bill sponsors were doing behind the scenes. Senator Kruger and Assemblywoman Simon, for those of you who are unfamiliar, they are fantastic. They were truly our advocates on the inside, remarkable sponsors. So both of them were working within their respective houses to get feedback from their colleagues, from leadership about what would be possible. And unfortunately, because the budget was really late, because we were trying to get feedback, we were realizing we were getting close to the wire for when a bill can be amended and introduced during the legislative period for the Senate session. Bills have to age 3 days for them to get voted on the Senate. So as we were getting close to the wire, we realized that we needed to get something introduced, and we were concerned that we could leave this session with nothing. Um, ultimately, again, I think I'm not breaking news for folks here. The assembly has been really challenging on climate and environment issues over recent years. And ultimately, a core group of us who have been involved in the strategy around NY Heat, along with the bill sponsors' offices, made a determination that we needed 2 bills as options to get introduced around NY Heat. So one was the Customer Savings and Reliability Act, or the CSRA, which some people have dubbed skinny heat. I kind of like it. And that was taking as much feedback as possible from the assembly to try to get them in a close place. And then the other bill that we introduced, which is ultimately what we had got passed, is legislation that only repeals the 100-foot rule subsidy, because we had long been hearing that the assembly was comfortable with that. So it was a really tough call. We knew that once we had 2 bills introduced, it was going to make it very hard to get the compromise bill, the Customer Savings and Reliability Act. But we wanted to give it that shot. So ultimately, when we put that forward, we did what we could to lift it up, to talk to assembly members. And I feel that ultimately leadership didn't feel there was enough time to get it where it needed to be in the conference. And I think ultimately the assembly felt more comfortable moving forward with the 100-foot rule. So that's the rough timeline of how we ended up where we did. And I have to emphasize yet again, in the political climate we are in, um, it is absolutely remarkable that we got this through. Um, we're dealing with a political climate where I think lawmakers are scared to take action right now. And we're going to have to do a lot of work as a movement to get them past that and to keep moving forward towards policies that will make people's lives easier, that will cut their energy bills, that will help take us towards our climate law mandates. But in the meantime, we beat back an extremely well endowed industry to get the 100-foot rule across the finish line. Um, so let's go to the next slide. Okay, so it took a lot of work to get where we were. These are some beautiful images of actions that took place over the final weeks of session. We held a last minute counter protest to the fossil fuel industry in the halls of the Capitol. We organized a really beautiful rally on June 6th. And all of that, it took all of that to get us where we are. So folks should feel really proud. And I know Jessica is going to talk a bit more about just how impactful it is to eliminate the 100-foot rule subsidy in a bit. But, we got something passed that's going to take away, on average, $200 million every year as a giveaway to the fossil fuel industry. That's pretty solid. So next slide. So when we got this bill passed on Monday, the speaker actually issued a statement about the passage of the 100-foot rule. And it's a pretty good statement. He calls out the misinformation from opponents. The minority in the assembly has been debating anything that even smells of climate. They were debating an insulation grant program on the assembly floor the other day. I mean, anything they will use as an opportunity to just spread lies from the fossil fuel industry. And while it took a real battle to get the speaker here, this statement says exactly what we want the speaker to be championing. This isn't about the misinformation and fear mongering. The passage of this legislation is about saving New Yorkers money and eliminating rollbacks to sustainable energy. Truly phenomenal. It took all of us to get there. It took a village. So thank you all. And next slide. I think I think at this point I will turn it to, I believe Jessica is going to walk us through exactly what it is we got passed and why this is so impactful. So thank you all.
Great. So thanks so much, Liz, and thank you all for everything you did this session. And in the final weeks, there were people in Albany pulling people off the floor and talking with legislators and providing information to counter the misinformation. There were people making phone calls from every part of the state. There were regional events and local events. It was incredible. And that's what got us here. So I'm going to talk a little bit about what the 100-foot rule is that we just amended and repealed in the state legislature. And again, I'm Jessica Aguilé. I'm Executive Director at Alliance for a Green Economy, also known as AGREE. So there is a part of public service law that's been there for decades, that was put in place in order to encourage energy companies to expand their networks. It applies to both electric and gas, so the electric grid and the gas network. And it requires utilities to hook people up and to provide people who are within 100 feet of the existing systems a free hookup. And of course, it's not actually free. That cost of that hookup gets put on the bills of all of the existing customers and raises our rates. And so as we've been working to implement the climate law, we've realized that the gas 100-foot rule, as it's known, this subsidy to hook new people up to the gas system, and put that on all of our bills, was working to undo progress we were making on climate. So people are leaving the gas system, they're switching to heat pumps, and we're helping people do that, and it's state policy to help people do that. But we've also been helping people connect to the gas system. So it's been like one step forward, two steps back. And this subsidy has been, lining the profits of gas corporations, encouraging their expansion, and costing us almost $200 million a year. And that really adds up over years and years. That's billions of dollars of gas expansion that we've all been paying for. So what this bill does is it basically says that now, if you want to hook up to gas, because there are alternatives, right? We have the All-Electric Building Act. New buildings are going to be constructed without fossil fuels. Um, and people on fuel oil have the option of switching to heat pumps and saving money. This bill says it's no longer in the state's policy to incentivize people to hook up to gas. And if you want to hook up to gas, you can, but you need to pay for it. We're not putting that on all of the ratepayers anymore. Um, it's really changing an outdated law that was in contravention of our climate law and was raising our gas bills. So this map has a little bit about the savings across the utility territories. We'll be sharing these slides after, so we'll go to the next slide. And, I think Liz talked about this a little bit, but I want to emphasize how important amending the 100-foot rule is. As I mentioned, despite our climate law, we've been seeing major gas system expansion, and it's costing us billions of dollars. And utilities have really been pushing this, and it's been their lifeline. And they've been using it as justification to fight for bringing more gas into New York, even though we have a law that says we need to get off of fossil fuels. Um, what's been really driving their argument for increasing rates and these big, pipelines bringing in new gas has been that they're growing their systems and gas demand is going up. So we have removed a major financial incentive for buildings to hook up to gas that's going to curb demand growth for gas and help us stop digging the hole. And this was such a big fight for us. There are other states that have amended their line extension allowances, as this is called, but they've done it regulatorily. They've done it through their public service commissions or public utility commissions. But our 100-foot rule was written into the law, so we had to go through the legislature to change it, and we're the first state to repeal this type of rule legislatively, and hopefully this sets us up and sets other states up for continued bold action on climate. So I will now pass it over to Lisa, who's going to talk about all the gratitude that we have for our sponsors and our movement.
Thank you so much, Jessica. It is a lot to absorb. We've won things, we've lost things. We will be spending some time this meeting reflecting on some of our feelings and our experiences. But let's start with some serious gratitude for our amazing bill sponsors that Liz referenced earlier. That's Senator Liz Krueger and her top energy staffer, Justin Flagg, and all the other staff in her office who have worked so closely with us and helped move this bill and support her in doing her work. And Assemblymember Joanne Simon, you probably know that she was assigned this bill just this year and had to quickly get up to speed. And her wonderful Chief of Staff, Susanna. They had a lot of other important things on their plate already before New York Heat landed in their office. And they didn't think twice. They dove right in with us. They agreed to work with us on managing an inside and outside strategy, helping to rally other champions in the assembly around the bill and have sort of a champions group. And and then to the bitter end, some of us were very lucky enough to be there on Monday night listening to Assemblymember Simon have to stand up and listen to the most outrageous and ridiculous questions and accusations coming from some of the opposition and her colleagues. And she stood on her feet for I don't know how long. It was a long time responding to that nonsense and kept her cool about her all the way to the end. She must have been completely exhausted. So anyway, in the chat, you'll see a link to write to sign a digital thank you card, which we're going to deliver to them. And I'm going to give you a minute to take a few minutes to write some words of gratitude in that card from all of you. Say where you are in the state, say your org, say your name, and just say a few words. And I'm going to mute myself while I'm going to write in the card as well. Oh, I clicked on the wrong link. Um, let's get that link down there again. I clicked on the link to watch the debate. So here we go. Okay, I see those thank yous. And you can keep filling those out. We'll also share the link again at the end of the call, and we'll email it out to everyone who registered, and we'll deliver it to them probably on Monday after everyone's gotten a chance to sign. Thank you to Jen on my team who put that card together for us, and we'll be excited to deliver it to them. I wish we could bring them giant bunches of flowers and huge boxes of chocolates, but they're not allowed to accept those kinds of gifts from us because of the lobbying laws. So we'll just have to make a card do instead. But if you see them or you can give them your thanks or give them a call. All right, moving on to the next slide. So I want to thank all of our incredible advocates. I did at the beginning of this call read a list of names of organizations, but organizations aren't people. People are people. And every single person who contributed to our campaign this year and in past years really made a difference. I wanted to note that we had 3 really big mobilizations to Albany this year in less than 5 months. So the first one was February 4th. The second one was on March 19th, just a few weeks later. And let's go to the next slide. Oh, I thought we had another one, right? We changed the slide deck. So here's some pictures from June 5th, which feels like 100 years ago, but I think it was actually only a couple weeks ago when we were all there. So we won the 100-foot rule, but we won so much more than that because together we built a collaborative, creative, smart, strategic, fun, diverse, beautiful, and irresistible movement. Some of the highlights are we coordinated a really effective inside-outside strategy. We coordinated weekly about the tactics, targets, timelines, and tone, and made sure that all of that information went out to all of you. Our messaging was positive, optimistic, future focused, and factual. We also held, we were really clear with our asks to our decision makers and really made it clear to the assembly that they would be held accountable for their action or inaction. And we had all these mobilizations, but the mobilizations are only part of the work. There's tons of local events, there's the call relays, there's the lobbying on Zoom or in person, there's the social media posts, there's anybody who called and talked to a friend and asked them to take action. All of this added up to such an incredible and strong and beautiful movement. And it isn't just about the wins in this work, it's the community we create and the friends we make along the way and how we are in solidarity together as a movement, and as people fighting um, for a better future for everyone, and especially everyone here in New York. So thank you so much for all of that. Let's go to the next slide. So this we've talked so much about the New York Heat Act, and it's really the cornerstone piece of legislation that Renewable Heat Now has been trying to pass. But I wanted to put it into a little bit of historical context for you. Um, Renewable Heat Now was founded about 8 years ago, but we've only been doing legislative work for about 4 years. Basically, after the Climate Action Council put out the state's climate plan, it was clear that more legislation needed to be passed in order to implement the key building strategies laid out in that plan. And so we set to work and really strategized about what that would look like. And we plotted and schemed and thought about, okay, what are the laws that we need to get passed in order to move these pieces forward? So we started our legislative work in 2022, and that year we passed the building codes and standards law. We also contributed to a union led passage of the Utility Thermal Energy Network and Jobs Act. And we started to build a really powerful movement with lots of allies to pass the All Electric Building Act. In 2023, we passed the All Electric Building Act. Our allies passed the build. I think that's build public renewables. I didn't know that was going to be on this slide, so sorry, I wasn't expecting that. That was not a Renewable Heat Now led piece, but it is definitely important to our overall movement work. In 2024, we didn't pass any of our legislative priorities as Renewable Heat Now, but we did build a lot of momentum for the New York Heat Act and the GAP Fund. This year, in 2025, we actually accomplished quite a lot. We repealed the 100-vote rule at the end of session, as we've just gone over. In the budget, we passed the GAP Fund, albeit not with a lot of funding attached to it, but we did get that line item, which is absolutely an incredible win. That's going to provide a program to help get more people into energy efficiency and electrification programs. We expanded the geothermal tax credit. Oh, and that should have been also in one of the previous years. So we passed the geothermal tax credit in one of those previous years. Sorry, I don't remember which one, to $5,000. And this year we expanded it to $10,000 and made it refundable. So it's much more accessible now to get geothermal in New York than ever before. We got, as part of the governor's climate funding, at least $450 million for building decarbonization. And no less than 200 million of that is going to be for thermal energy network projects. And again, that was an initiative led by the Upgrade Collaborative, but definitely supported by Renewable Heat Now. And it was in our budget memo and definitely some of the work we were engaged in. And at least $50 million for Empower Plus, which is a program for low to moderate income households to access clean energy and weatherization. So when you look back over 4 years, although there's been a lot of losses and a lot of disappointment, we actually have done we've passed almost everything that we set out 4 years ago to do, although we have some big pieces left, which we're going to still fight for. I think you can all be really proud of being part of this campaign and this movement and see how effective and strategic we've been for the past 4 years. So I think this is my last slide, and I'm now going to turn it over to Laura Schindel. Laura, is she here?
I'm here.
To talk us through the next phase of this meeting, and if someone could spotlight Laura.
And thanks, Lisa. Hey, everyone. I'm Laura. I'm the New York State Director with Food and Water Watch. And thank you to everyone who's, been here for a moment or the whole several years process, because we really needed everyone to get as far as we have. But I'd love to just take a moment to hear from you all. I know this has been a very hard fought and long campaign, but we've made progress in a difficult political moment. So I want to open it up for people to share in the chat how you're feeling, any reflections, appreciations. Go ahead and chime in the chat how you're doing. I imagine it's going to take people a little bit of time to gather their thoughts and type them out. See an appreciation for Kim's beautiful artwork that we've seen across all of our New York Heat images and signage and branding. A lot of hearts for that. Kim put together some great visuals. And someone feels like the bottom right image that it's a lot of work and the industries have a lot of power. I feel you. Appreciation for the Renewable Heat Now Coalition. And happiness that we're moving forward with advancing the CLCPA. A shout out for the climate change makers who met every Wednesday to work on pushing the New York Heat Act. Lots of talented and dedicated advocates. Some mixture too of discouraging that it's so hard to get stuff done in the most progressive, one of the most progressive states in the country. And I like this one. Small wins are important and contribute to bigger wins ahead. Michael is happy he's not paying for gas hookups anymore. That is true. Um, great. Oh, lots more. Great to meet people. Frustrated. Appreciation to Emily Skydell, who led countless phone banks and Food and Water Watch. Ooh. Kim thinks of us all as earthworms in the great climate justice garden. I appreciate Kim's poetry. And good, important comment that it's important to have some sort of win now so that we can be inspired to continue and keep fighting. True, true. More cheers for phone bankers and text bankers, call relayers. A question about where this leaves utilities and planning. Maybe we can get to that later. And yeah, I think those are all really good things. And proud that we passed one of the pillars of New York Heat. Okay. Appreciation and more work to do. So people can keep chiming in the chat. I don't want to cut it off, but I do want to talk about what we got to do next. I know there's always more work to do. Let's see, next slide. So in order to make this bill law, the governor has to sign it. So that's the piece of the puzzle we just have to close up in order to finish this win. we are cautiously optimistic about her signing it. I'd say we're optimistic because she's included the elimination of the 100-foot rule in her previous budget proposals. It's something she's supported in the past, and it's very common sense. She should continue supporting it. The reason we're cautious about that optimism is because Governor Hochul's been known to wait to sign bills until the last day of the calendar year. She's also been known to backslide on climate issues. So we don't want to take anything for granted. We really need everybody to contact the governor and tell her she needs to sign this legislation immediately. The sooner she signs it, the sooner it goes into effect. When she signs it, it goes into effect, and we can all stop paying for other people's gas hookups. So everyone should call the governor and email the governor. And we're actually going to go ahead and take 3-4 minutes to do that now. We have a calling link that connects you right over to her. So I'm going to ask that folks take a moment to click that link, and you'll type your phone number in. I'm going to share my screen to show you how to do it. I'm going to place current. Okay. Oh, I lost the chat. There we go. Okay, so when you click that link, you're going to see this page, and you can type in your address so it knows where you're a constituent of, but this is really going to bring us over to be calling Governor Hochul. So you see, it gives you the script in advance so you can prepare, and you type in your phone number so it knows who to call. So when you click this red button, call officials, it's going to call your cell phone number, and you can answer it and be connected. So let's all do that together. I'll stop my share. We'll give another minute or two. I know some people had trouble with the link. We've shared just a phone number in the chat you can use if the link does not work for you. Seeing some people chime in that they're done. We'll give another minute. Okay. And if you haven't called yet, just write down the phone number or copy the link and do so later. But we'll just all need to be saving that number and calling her until she signs the bill. So hopefully she does it quickly, but send her emails, make calls, and stay tuned to keep pressuring the governor to sign the elimination of the 100-foot rule. So what else? What's next? Let's go to the next slide. What else do we got to do? First and foremost, everybody needs to rest, reset, restore. Everyone's worked so hard. And as we know, there's lots more to do, but we need to take care of ourselves first and foremost. So everyone, please, get out of sprint mode for a moment if you can, and take care of yourselves, rest, reset, restore, do something kind for yourself, do something to celebrate. And then when you're ready, we're going to keep making sure Hochul signs the bill, keep at it with those calls and emails. And then more resting in the form of a party. We are going to have a party to celebrate what we've done together this year and over the last several years. So get excited, stay tuned for an in-person party invitation. And stay tuned as well for future Renewable Heat Now campaign work. There's more to do for cleaner heat and lower bills. And we've built a really wonderful network of groups and advocates and activists. So you won't be seeing the last of us. But we will take a beat to gather and figure out next steps. But in the meantime, I'm also going to make a plug for a different campaign that everybody should know about. As of maybe a month or so ago, Governor Hochul made a deal with President Trump that would bring new fracked gas pipelines into New York State. Pipelines that we defeated 9 years ago and 5 years ago are now reapplying and coming back to New York for New York's consideration. And it's very troubling, and we're going to need a big campaign to push Governor Hochul to deny those pipeline proposals. And there will be lots of work to do, and you'll have to stay tuned. But one easy thing you can all do right now is just join a Signal group where we are updating folks if Governor Hochul is making a public appearance and organizing rapid responses to show up wherever she's going to show up with signs that say, don't approve fracked gas pipelines, right? That was a key thing that helped move Governor Cuomo to ban fracking back in the day. We need to be everywhere the governor is. And so if you join the Signal chat, you'll get updates about where the governor is going to be, and you can quickly mobilize to show up with a sign and a camera to, get to her face to face and pressure her. So if you just scan that QR code, it'll allow you to join a Signal group. If you don't have the app Signal yet, you'll have to download the app first. But that's a good way to stay in the loop about what's going on with the bird dogging or picketing of Governor Hochul on pipeline proposals. And for now, most of the events that people will see are probably going to be in New York City, right? She comes to New York City or Albany more often than she does to the rest of the state. But everyone around the state should join, because if she's showing up in your county or in your town, we want to be able to connect and get you prepared to go and make a ruckus. So that's the pitch, to stay in the loop about fighting pipelines. Next slide. And that covers it for our meeting tonight. If you take away one thing, it should be our immense gratitude for everybody on this call and everybody that you all are connected to that also fought the good fight and will keep fighting the good fight, because these wins don't happen on their own. The fossil fuel industry is very powerful. It's people power and grassroots movements that get this done. And you all played a really integral piece of it. So really an honor to work alongside you all.
Thanks so much, Laura. Jen, can we unshare the slides so we can all see each other? If you're able to turn on your camera, be a good time to just see each other's faces, give a wave, give a smile, give a hug. We have a lot of feelings to process, and everyone processes differently, and that's okay. While we were on this call, I got an alert that Rochester is flooded and the thruways closed. It's supposed to be 107 degrees in New York City next week. So please be careful and try to make a plan to protect yourselves from the extreme heat. So we in the climate movement are all carrying that all the time. It's a very heavy burden. So we have to carry it together so that we're sharing the load. And it makes it hard to enjoy and appreciate the wins that we are getting. But it also makes it so important that we do enjoy and appreciate the wins and the community that we're building together. I've never worked with a better group of people, smarter, kinder, more fun than all of you. So it's just really a privilege. Thanks to everybody who put on this very tired group of people who pulled this meeting together for you. And that's Andra and Jen, Kim and Laura, Jessica, and myself, with help from and assists from Lorenzo on our team and others. We will share the links out with you via email. And we will have more strategic work together, depending on how Hochul responds to our early request to sign the bill. We'll have that all to share with you, but it's not here today. But this campaign is going to keep going. We're never going to stop fighting for cleaner heat and lower bills, and safe, healthy, comfortable homes for everyone. So thanks so much to everybody. And I didn't thank Liz, and to Liz, sorry, I didn't say Liz. And and we'll see you. And please stay safe and rest and relax and restore, and keep doing the good work. Thanks a lot. Good night.